Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Cocoa in the Sun podcast. I am your host, Malika Critchlow. Very blessed to be here today. I'm just happy with this little journey I'm on. So today I don't really have much insights. So we will just get to reading the book. So the last time where we left off, Judi's good friend died. And her name was Pam. And this was Tom Kenyon's wife, his first wife. And she was a beautiful soul and a good friend to Judi. And Judi felt lost a little bit after she died because she had spent so much of her time focused on Pam and healing Pam, helping Pam heal. So she learned the power of, through Pam, having your own agenda and not having other people control the narrative, even if it's in good intentions. And the beauty and power in letting go in death. So we're going to continue. I could write whole books about the next few months that they were a textbook lesson in agendas. Oh, so we're continuing the agenda theme. Let me just put on my glasses. Oh, hold on 1 second. Okay. So I have my glasses on now. We're going to continue. Let's go. I could write whole books about the next few months. They were a textbook lesson in agendas. You'd be amazed at what descends on a man whose wife has just died. They came from everywhere to help him. I wondered where they had all been when we needed them. But my voice felt rather small in those first few months, especially up against all the raucous voices that all knew exactly what Tom Kenyon ought to do with the rest of his life. Everyone had an agenda for Tom. Everyone knew where he ought to move, where he ought to spend his time, what would heal him, what his grief should look like, what supplements he needed, who he should be with, and who he shouldn't be with, specifically me. I watched people circle and surround him with agendas. He was so torn in his grief, he couldn't see anything beyond the paralyzing pain of losing the love of his life. As the parade came and went, I began to plan to move back east. I had just lost one best friend, and the way it looked, I was going to lose another. And I just couldn't watch that happen. Tom was completely unaware of what was happening around him. Pulled this way and that, assaulted by so much grief, he couldn't see beyond it. It was quicksand, and he wasn't even able to muster the strength to try to pull himself out, instead launching onto whichever branch was dangled nearby. The more I began to plan my move, the sadder I got. I had my own grief from the loss of Pam and the loss of Pam and Tom. The hopelessness engulfed and overwhelmed me, and I felt rather lost in all the processes happening around Tom. He had just lost his wife. I wasn't family. I had no idea where my place was in all this twisting. So there I was at the bottom once more, unsure where my next breath of air would come from. Some things should bring you to your knees, and if you don't believe in a bearded old God, to whom do you pray? I can't tell you that I got a message or that a light appeared and told me what to do. I just gave up. I surrendered and I went to Mother. Metatron has always told me that I possess certain powers, which I have done my best to completely ignore, one of which is the power to call forth, according to him. And though I have thought this not possible, I sank to my proverbial knees and asked for help. That's all I asked for. I asked for help. Almost immediately, mystical events began to unfold around me. As I slid towards sleep each night, Isis appeared. She stepped forward from a circle of ancient women, all cloaked in robes with hoods, so I never saw their faces. She took my hand and waved us through swirling mists and what were, I can only presume, dimensions. We appeared from this flight in a variety of temples. In each temple we visited, a group of priestesses stepped forward and took me by my hand. While Isis waited, they dipped me first in one pool of oil, then in another. Night after night, this bathing ritual continued from temple to temple and pool to pool. I was always returned about dawn. Slowly, my skin began to feel better, and I think my heart rate quickened. I began to be conscious of my breathing. It seemed deeper and more audible, and I swear I could hear my heartbeat. One night, they bathed me as usual and wrapped me mummy-like in long strips of fabric. Then they lay me down on a huge bed of giant crystal points with dozens of different stones beneath my chakra points. I remember my mind thought it ought to hurt to lie there on these crystal points. Perhaps it was the fabric wrapping that so protected me, or the careful way I was positioned, but I don't remember any pain. This specific process occurred several nights. They changed the location of the crystal points against my body and the stones from night to night. Some nights, the rose quartz was against my back at my heart. Some nights, a ruby pointed directly at my throat chakra from beneath. Some nights, a great blue sapphire pierced my heart from the back. And then one night, as I lay in bed, a thick fog licked its way across the floor, and a giant cobra seemed to ride in on the fog. Somehow, it didn't frighten me, though I remember thinking I ought to be afraid. It slithered under the sheets and across one leg and down under the other, then looping back over and under again, holding me in a human Mobius strip. Then it rose high above me and spread its hood, still firmly in control of my body. I told no one about these new nightly visitations of Isis and friends. I observed that I acted differently when Tom called. I caught myself twisting the phone cord, staring off into space when I talked to him. Once I blushed and giggled for no good reason. The people telling Tom that what he ought to do with his life began to bother me. I got edgy around them. I didn't trust them. I saw their agendas and began to worry that I might have one as well. I struggled to remain his friend, no matter what the price, without prejudice, without personal agenda. Leaving the island and returning east was the only solution I could imagine for the swirling emotions washing over me. I had learned to run away before the hurt, if at all possible. I made lots of phone calls east, preparing what friends I had left there for my imminent return. One day I drove Tom to a ferry landing so he could take the boat to a nearby island to visit a healer. We sat in my car waiting for the ferry to dock. It was pouring rain, not the usual spotting we get out here, but a real East Coast downpour. It added to the solemn, solemn, solemnity of the air. As we sat staring at the ghost ferry slipping into dock, shadowed by the rain and gray, so thick it licked the land like a dragon's breath. We sat in silence. Then Tom reached over and placed his hand on my heart, and he said, I pledge you my truth. I felt my heart tremble in response, and I placed my hand on his heart and I said, I pledge you my truth. It is the greatest commitment ever made. It has sustained us through everything. It has held us like a great cord. When I think I can't possibly talk to him about something, I realize I won't be in truth if I don't. And when I want to let something slip by and not address it, I realize I can't just let it go, or I won't be in total truth with him. Months later, two old friends went to the Southwest to see if we could assuage the pain with a dose of sun. When we returned, Tom suggested I not go back to my house, and so I moved my chair closer to his piano at his house, and he wrote a song. Sometimes when I am near you, I feel like I am floating on air, and it still amazes me that I do not even seem to care. Sometimes when I'm beside you, I feel like I'm falling, tumbling into space. And it seems to happen most often whenever I see your face. What is this feeling I'm feeling inside of me? What is this grace coming down from above? I don't know, but I feel like singing with the turtle doves. Could it be that I'm falling in love? And I wrote a poem. I long to know your taste as well as to know your song. And I can't and I won't write any more of a story. It is too precious, too magical, and too potent to put in words. Now we are living my childhood dreams, living the prophecies I have shared with no one all these years until now. Once a psychic dodged traffic rushing across oh goodness, rushing across a busy street to give me a message about my life's work, and it had to do with sacred relationship. One night in a restaurant in Washington, D.C., I felt someone staring at me across the room. I saw him write a note on a napkin out of the corner of my eye, and I watched it get passed from table to table. I knew it was headed for me, and I knew what it was going to say. The same thing the words without a voice had said in the fork of the pear tree when I was 5, and I had given up hope. Some days I feel like an old crow now, an ancient woman who has seen it all, and all these memories are like the pages in a detached book of life. I can view them from a distance, but they seem to belong to someone else. I feel immune from my own life story. After all, it's not, it's just another story. And I've heard them all by now, and they're all the same, and they're all different. I know what it feels like to think you are finally safe and to step inside a car for a ride home from a long night of running from danger only to find yourself looking once again into the eyes of torment, to have the edge of steel pressed against your neck. I have listened to screaming and realized it was my own. I have gasped for breath in the terror of childbirth and not slept for days on end when a precious little girl needed me much more than I needed sleep. And I have chosen love over and over and over again. I have fought a long, hard battle with the dark side over the soul of a man and lost. I have laughed over dinner and shared my soul and and my best red wine with a good friend, only to be fed back by betrayal in his climb for what he wanted. I have been cut with knives and words. Sometimes betrayal looks like your best friend. Sometimes it looks like your lover. It wouldn't be called betrayal if you had seen it coming. I have screamed in pleasure in a long night of ecstasy and climbed the greatest peaks of the world in another's arms. And those are the nights I'll never regret. That is the closest to God, to the goddess I have ever been. I had dreams for my children and forgot they might have dreams of their own. My respect and the love I hold for Jennifer and Adrian grows by the day as they teach me about strength and integrity. And the child I gave away has found me, and that sweet peace has found that vacancy in my heart and filled it. I am truly sorry I didn't have the courage to raise her, for it was only my own cowardice that made me give her up. She is exquisitely beautiful, physically and spiritually. She is Laura, and I love her. I have loved and desired from such a place of desperation that I have allowed someone to hurt me, my back shoved against a door, unable to breathe or twist or contort into a direction where there wasn't a blow. Fists and blood tangled in a web of horror. I have prayed and sweated and begged and intended and hoped and owned and hungered and believed and known. And I have wanted to die, to find freedom in the sparkles on the water on a sunny day more than anything. And just when there was no more breath, no more hope in me, an angel said to me, just imagine what the next one will be like. If you're still alive, there's hope. Remember where you come from. I remember a place where beings swim in blue-tinged liquid love, where the most beautiful fairy princess in the whole world wears pink lady slippers, and she and Jack live in the pulpit happily ever after, and horses can fly, and so can I. I stopped believing, but I never stopped knowing. Just when everyone around me had died, and there are many ways to die, when death of another hue hungered in the far corner, salivating for more, my best friend put his hand on my heart and said, I pledge you my truth, and I pledged mine to him. And truth is beauty, as all great poets know. There was no happily ever after in a world where beings don't yet swim in liquid love. But there is work to be done. And I had found the most dynamic and quickest way to God realization just where I thought it was. And I have found my goddess and the mother of all time and space. She is returning in this, the beginning of the ending of time. And if you really hear these words, well, that is enough. A few years ago, I was sitting in the back of a workshop running the video camera. Tom asked everyone to find a partner and tell the partner his or her life story in 5 minutes. No cross talk. Whatever comes out in 5 minutes is your life story. I didn't have a partner, so I shut the camera off and sat down as far away from everyone as I could. I didn't want anyone to think I was listening to their private story. I tried to hide in the wall, actually. I felt so obvious and so alone back there. But no matter how far I backed away, I could still hear the stories being told around me. So I turned and buried my head in my hands so I couldn't possibly hear. But the stories around me got even louder. I looked up to see how this was possible. There was no logical way this could be happening. Then I began to hear the stories at the far end of the room just as clearly as those near me, and again I tried to bury my head deeper into my lap. I heard every story in that room. My father wouldn't let anyone pick me up, so I lay there for months and months. They fed me and changed me and put me back, but no one was allowed to hold me. When I was 3, I got so sick the doctor came and ordered them to take me to the hospital. I almost died. Then she hit me and kept hitting me. And he held me down and I could feel him over me and he smelled bad. God, he was my father. And she died when I was 6 and no one has really loved me since. I lost my father and he was the only one who ever really loved me and I felt so alone since. My family lost everything in the fire, and we just had the awful cans of food they give you from the food trucks. When my dog died, my life ended. I still miss my mother. I had millions, but I wasn't happy. I was so hungry and cold. I always thought I came to do something, but I didn't know what it was. He left me for her, and she left me for him. I pressed my middle finger deeply into my ears. I was afraid everyone knew I could hear their stories. And then the sound waves of the cosmos parted. There was a swoosh like air moving through a huge seashell, like waves pounding the shore. And it seemed to open a portal of sound, and I heard it all. I mean, I heard everyone in the room, and I heard the litany of every story from the beginning to end. They spiraled out of an invisible tunnel around me. Birth, love, hope, betrayal, mistrust, anger, pity, judgment, loss, joy, laughter, tears, sweat, hard work. Millions of story bubbles burst inside me. I heard it all, and it's all the same. We all have the same story. The details are different, but it's all the same story in a strange way. We're not just one great being connected divinely at a universal level. We all have a chapter in the same story. My heart burst and engulfed everyone in that room, everyone from the beginning of time as we know it. Underneath it all, I'm still the little girl who believed in love, and the one who knew what the secrets of the universe lay, who knew that the secret of the universe lay in the love that can unfold between two people. And I'm the same little girl who knew that you can get further along in the search for God business if you draw to you a partner, a mate, and if you evenly stay in complete truth day in and day out, in the bedroom, in the bathroom, and in the kitchen. And I'm the same little girl who always believed that if you don't have a partner, you just need to stay in complete and even truth with yourself. It doesn't matter if I live 20 years or 20 minutes. It's the day-to-day process that matters. What are you doing with your time? It may be all you have this minute, this day. Would you rather lie in bed with someone you love for 10 more minutes or get up early and jog? Do you smile on the way out of the door or just turn your back and walk away? Who is your God? Is it a fearsome, jealous thing that calls you a sinner? Darling, that's not God. That's patriarchy talking. It's either a religion or a government or an unevolved alien. It's the voice of enslavement. We have been held by such insidious entrapment for eons. Through the threat of ostracism and division, through the conjoined efforts of the ignorance around us, through lies. My story doesn't contain any hard truths. It doesn't contain alchemical processes that, if stirred and carefully followed, will produce the love of your life or enlightenment. And I don't care how sophisticated we all appear to be. I know that we all really want, in our heart of hearts, someone to love us and someone who will let us love them. It is our potential. Time, as you know it, is running out, and I have received permission from the goddess herself indeed. I have been asked by the goddess herself to reveal to you some of the most closely guarded secrets of all times. These are revealed to you in hopes that you will elevate yourself in time. And so it is that I reveal one of the lost secrets of the ages, that spirit, the male principle, in order to return to itself through its journey into matter, requires the assistance of the feminine principle, the intelligence of matter itself. But from the solar light-filled perspective of the masculine principle, the feminine principles carry within her a dark, moist, and dangerous abyss. The solar principle feels threatened by the darkness of the lunar aspect, but it is in the joining of the sun and the moon, the joining of the masculine and the feminine principles, in equilibrium, in energetic balance, that true illumination is attained. Mary Magdalene. One night, very early on, as we had just begun ever so gently to unfold our new love, right in the midst of other people's agendas, Tom and I stood at a precipice. We stood alongside a seawall on another island. It had been a rough day, and the sea monsters were after Tom. All the sirens had turned up their volume, and I couldn't hear the pounding waves for their cacophony. They pulled at him, luring him into the sea, out way over his head, and he was blinded by the light. Just because something appears to look like light doesn't mean it is light. I have learned that lesson the hard way. As he walked away from me, he just walked away with palm trees swaying gently in the night air. He left me there, standing alone in the middle of the dark night. And I looked around there where campfires burning all around with men huddled, drinking and partying. I didn't want to admit I was afraid to walk home across that darkness alone, and my pride stung fiercely. I had been left along a seawall on a strange island by someone who was numbed by a spider's bite and couldn't tell the light from the dark in the moment. I'm fine. I will not ask for help. I don't need anyone. I know how to be alone. I have rather perfected that. I love being alone. I do it well. I don't know how to do relationship perfectly. That's the one I have to learn. And so I swallowed hard and I called him back. And he hadn't walked so far that he couldn't hear me. And he chose to come back. It took both those steps. I chose to call him back and he chose to come. In every moment, in every circumstance, from the simplest to the most sublime, it's all just choice. In the coming years, I suspect we will face choices, the likes of which have never been posed to humanity. Choose freedom, choose love. And if there's any way you can bring total, complete, even truth into your life at all levels, please do it. The truth really will set you free, and there's nothing without freedom. And to my beloved, I adore you. May it bring tears to anyone's eyes as Magdalene's love for Yeshua did to me, to read how it is that I love you, for your willingness to cross the moist, dark, and dangerous abyss to live in the portal of the feminine, in the Holy Grail with me. Your integrity and your honor shine above all, and your song will echo in the halls of forever. Thank you for allowing me to be both the initiate and the woman in love. To me, you will always be the little boy in the back of the bus whose face I never forgot. The one I knew would grow up to play guitar and sing songs. The one I knew was my soulmate. You sing my heart. Yours is the voice of God. Okay, we're going to stop there for today. And next podcast, we'll read Afterthoughts, a diary after Mary Magdalene. Wow, that was a really good read. I enjoyed that so far. Did you? It was somewhat poetic. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope that you find your own journey to healing and love and unconditional love and understanding of yourself in the most fun way for you, in the best way, in the most beautiful way that you can envision. I've been envisioning divine blue light, divine blue healing light. Whenever I envision the blue healing light, I feel like it's surrounding me and in me, and it's helping me heal and feel balanced and peace and feel in harmony and feel sure in myself and knowing and just being. I'm confident in that being. And I have found I enjoy envisioning iridescent rainbow light when I want to envision unconditional love surrounding me and wrapping me in it. And all these lights that I envision come from source. And it's just fun for me. I realized following other people's imagination of what's fun for them was not fun for me. So I would listen to, people, or even in the books, what they have to say to envision light from above and below and all these things. I believe I like envisioning colors and deciding what these different colors and lights represent for me that feel true to me. So If what I envision helps you and feels true to you, I encourage you to enjoy that process of envisioning and feeling the healings and the love through that. But find what works for you and what's fun for you. I think it's so specific to our personal likes and dislikes, loves, and things that we don't enjoy. And we really need to create our own way of what brings us joy to make our own processes, you know. That's where I am these days. And the way things are explained to me in my dreams still. Sometimes when I'm up, yeah, understandings and inspirations to do action and opportunities that come unexpectedly. And the balance of just trusting and allowing and receiving. So whatever works best for you that you enjoy most, I think that's where I'm at in how this journey is unfolding for me. It could be that's what I'm learning this journey, and others are learning other things. And so they do need other imaginations of how it works for them, and that works better for them. I don't know. Everybody's journey is different and specific to them. But yeah, I'm enjoying this divine blue healing light, envisioning it, and the iridescent rainbow love light. I love envisioning it. It's fun for me. So that's the way I'm gonna go and see if it makes a difference. Anyway, I hope you know that you are loved and that you are loved and that you experience being loved, that you experience it in a way that you understand it, that communicates it to all your being. Yeah, I hope you have that experience in the best way that it comes for you. And I hope you experience connection to yourself and to your divine team and the magic of what life is. Some days the magic of life is so clear to me, and it's so grateful to be able to be here to play with it, to experience it. And some days I'm like, yo, this shit is hard sometimes. This stuff is hard. But I think it's all perspective. And it all depends on where my thoughts are. Is it trusting and allowing everything will work out in the best way for me, or is it in a state of fear and I have to figure this out and do this? Yeah. And figuring out the balance of allowing and receiving, and also my own sovereignty of saying what I want in my experience and wanting to experience it. And that balance of surrendering to your soul and trusting, but also contributing to what you want the experience to be. This the paradox. It's a paradox. I think this whole earth thing is a paradox on so many levels. Anyways, I hope you have a great day. Maybe we'll get a third one this week on Friday. It seems when I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I get 3. And when I do Tuesday, Thursday, I get 2. All depends. Anyway, hope you have a great week. I hope you take time, you're gentle with yourself, you listen to what yourself wants, and you honor it. Have a great day, guys. Bye.